On this edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, a couple of Alberta baseball players who just got back onto the field after similar surgeries are back waiting in the clubhouse. Welcome to episode 82 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarlane. Opening day was supposed to be last Thursday, and with the coronavirus pandemic putting that on hold, we know a few people are itching for more baseball content. So we're back a little earlier than scheduled with what we'll call a bonus episode, and we'll do our best to try to get you a few of these in the weeks ahead. We'll start this episode off with Spruce Grove's Chris Ewanik. The 6-foot, 200-pound infielder and catcher had just gotten back onto the field with Husson University in Maine after a year away recovering from Tommy John surgery when the news broke that the season would be canceled. We chatted about his surgery and return, a cross-country trip back home with teammate and fellow Albertan David LeBlanc, and his unique school path of data analytics. Chris, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's start off with the last few weeks here. What's it been like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, again, like pretty much everyone would say, it went so quick. For us personally, we were starting our bulk of our non-conference schedule in the Russ Math Invitational in Florida. And kind of like once we started getting there, I think it was like the second or the third day, we heard that one of the other teams that they aren't our conference, but they're a neighbor conference, they got onto their bus to go to Florida as well. And they were supposed to be down here playing games, but their dean or their president walked onto the bus, said, "Sorry, your trip's been canceled. Here's your refund." And shortly thereafter, like we heard their season was done, and then all the stuff started dropping, like the NBA, the AHL, the MLB, the Ivy League for baseball. And then kind of by the end of the week, like we had one team left on our schedule, only Thomas College. And then we finished up in Florida. We flew home and our season was canceled. Our school was only online. And kind of Dave and I decided we had to get home. And then kind of, we had the long drive home. It's like 4,200 kilometers, and then I've been on quarantine. So it's been kind of crazy.
What was the conversation like in the car as you're trying to head home over the course of a few days?
I think for Dave and I, like, it was kind of like a mix between trying to stay on par with what was happening in the world, and also like not getting too caught up in it. We didn't really have a whole bunch of other like things to talk about, obviously. Like so it was really important to not like drive ourselves crazy thinking about like what's going on, and that our season just ended, and try to just worry about the drive and take it day by day.
Was there much in the way of talk about, are we even going to be able to get across the border at this rate?
The first day, we were a little nervous about it. We weren't really sure, especially like we'd just we'd flown as well, which I thought like kind of increased our risk. We were before the border shut down at all, so I wasn't super worried about it, but we both thought it was a pretty good idea to cross it before there was any question.
Walk us through what was said in the locker room as you're trying to kind of come to grips with everything. What was that conversation like?
I think we stayed in like houses in Florida, like as a team, so we'd have like 10 guys to a house. So I remember just kind of having conversations like, well, what could happen? Like, what's best case scenario? Like, could we have online classes but still be playing baseball? Like, what's going to happen here? I think probably the most impactful one was kind of like Coach Mo would kind of towards the end of the week, he was popping by our houses, and like they kind of brought some food to cook, and he was kind of giving us updates. And on our last day especially, he was, I think it was a pretty emotional day. Like everybody was pretty upset, alongside not just, hey, our baseball season's canceled, but this is a pretty real life event. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty emotional having a lot of guys like lose their season like that, and just you put in, obviously we're no different for any other program in the country, where we put a lot of work in, get to where we were, and we were excited to see that hard work pay off in the field, but it didn't make it any easier nonetheless.
on a personal level, was it difficult given the trials and tribulations you've gone through and having to go through surgery and all that kind of thing over the last 18 months or so?
I mean, yeah, but like I think it was a lot tougher just blowing my arm out when I didn't expect it, as opposed to this where everybody's in the same boat. I think there's some people that, our graduating senior class, I think I felt a lot more sympathetic for than, I felt that way for myself, as far as, they got jobs lined up. This is it. They expected their senior season, and, it's kind of gone. And then for me right now, like, obviously Tommy John teaches you a lot about, as far as, take it day by day. What am I going to do right now? How am I going to get a little bit better? And I think this is just almost kind of like a continuation of that, or it's a setback, but instead I don't have to go in for surgery or worry about what's going to happen to my career or my arm. Like, it's a little bit more, I have a little bit more confidence in the process. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do.
Take us back to that injury. We haven't been able to tell our listeners about that, so it's a really unique situation you found yourself in, because usually we talk about Tommy John and pitchers, but that's not the case for you.
Yeah. So it was definitely something I had no real inclination could kind of happen to me, especially, being a position player and, more so first base, a little bit of catching too. And so basically I just transferred to Hudson, and, part of where I wanted to give myself a role is, like, I've always been a bat in the lineup, and give myself more positions to play as great. So I was catching more like I had in high school, and it was September 12th. It was like 3 days before first practice. So, like, I was just starting to get to know, like, the town and my school and my teammates. And then I was throwing down the second, and my arm it felt kind of tight that day. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make one more throw to second. And then when I did, like, I kind of felt like my elbow, like, snap, and I felt it kind of separate and, like, slingshot back together. And I kind of just remember looking down at my arm, and it was so loud, like, in my own head, it sounded like a gunshot, but I don't think anybody else heard it. And then I kind of looked down at my arm, and I was like, well, I guess I got to make a throw here and see what happens. And I made a throw to my friend, and it felt like where my elbow should have been, there was jello. And I was like, ooh, like, that's not a good thing.
No doubt. So what happened from there?
Basically, I started athletic training staff, and we gave it a week to see if, like, maybe it was just like a UCL sprain, or sometimes, like, the ligament can roll over the elbow and make that loud noise. But when I threw again, it was the same jello feeling. And then I went in, got an MRI, got diagnosed with a full tear. And that's where I kind of made the decision to like, go back home to get surgery. Is like, my school wasn't going to cover it, as far as I had health insurance through the school, through my tuition, but the cost of surgery would have been pretty substantial on top of that. So I decided to say, well, like, this isn't working. I'm not gonna be able to play this year. And I thought my career was done at that point too. And so I said, well, I'm just going to go back home and get into, the queue for the surgery process there, and take it that way.
Walk us through, I guess, that transition and trying to go through the surgery and go through all the unknowns and going through that entire process.
It was, for mine was really, really weird. Especially compared to some other people where, like, they get done through a school and they're with the school's physio, or if you're in professional baseball. For me, like, I went home, and when I saw my surgeon the first time, like, he didn't want to give me surgery. He wanted me to elect for a non-operative method, which was, to me, like, I didn't think that was something they were going to say, because mine was a full rupture.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, my surgeon in Maine that my school is partnered with said, you'll never throw a baseball again if you don't get a surgery. And then this guy was trying to tell me I'd be throwing again in 4 months without surgery, and that seemed kind of like a stretch. So I actually ended up getting a second opinion to go and say there, and getting a copy of some academic journals that were kind of talking specifically about Tommy John and rehab processes. And I basically came up, and my mom's a chiropractor, so her and I went through the literature together, and I had a 42% chance non-surgery of throwing again versus like a 90 with surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going back, and, like, I had a pretty legit argument with this surgeon in the hospital, saying, like, man, like, give me the surgery. Like, I can't take a 40% chance on this. I was like 22. Like, I need to get back on the field if I have a chance. And I can't wait another year. And then through the surgery, it was weird too, because I didn't have, like, obviously I was working with Taylor Burns towards the end of it, but for the first couple months, like I was just trying to figure out ways to kind of keep myself in shape and like do what I could do, like whether that was riding a bike or like I would run laps with my brace on and like just kind of like figuring it out as I went along.
How hard was it not being able to pick up a baseball and do those things day to day that you usually do on the field?
I think for a while it was tough to even think about like throwing a baseball or the day to day because like I was back in Lethbridge, I was in 5 classes, 3 labs, and I didn't have my right hand,
Mm-hmm.
and then like with the daily physio stuff, like it kept me so busy for a while, and then I think when it got really tough was when I got back home and like you kind of to me Tommy John was really like I'd make a whole bunch of gains, I get a whole bunch better, and I'd flatline for a while, and then I get a whole bunch better, and I flatline for a while. So when I started, seeing people play baseball and all my friends are back home and like, like I'm still only able to pick up a 25-pound dumbbell with my right hand or, what I mean? Like I'm throwing BP and front toss, left-handed. And I think that's when it kind of started bothering me. And then along with that, like, that voice in the back of the head, it's like back of your head. It's like, hey, like, what are you doing this for? Like, this isn't a guarantee. And like, so I think that was probably when it was really tough.
Did you learn a lot about yourself, particularly around your mindset as you went through all the trials and tribulations of rehab?
Yeah, I totally think so. I think it really like I'm a lot better at kind of not worrying about things that are outside my control, and at times too, it definitely like it stressed me out and it kind of broke me. There was days where I felt like like it definitely got to me more than it should have. But like I think too, that's where I was lucky to have like friends like Eric Sabrowski was going through Tommy John. I think he was, I don't know, like he was a couple months ahead of me. So like I kind of always had somebody to, when I was having a tough day, I had to give him a ring, and he would tell me, yeah, this is how I'm feeling, and then that's how I got to know Landen Bourassa a bit was through Tommy John, and then once you have the surgery too, it's amazing how many people you run into that have also had arm injuries, and it's a pretty cool little brotherhood too, where everybody kind of gets it, even though nobody's surgery process is the same. Everybody can kind of relate to it.
What was it like from your perspective to step back out onto the field? I think it was against Salem State earlier this spring, and getting that opportunity to feel a baseball again and to play the game again.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, for me, as far as my arm was going, like I was able to DH playing defense. Really, I wasn't quite there yet. I was really close, but actually, I hit a ball like off the left center wall my first at bat back, and I thought I got it out for a second, but I think too, just like, all right, like there's a little bit of like a deep breath, like, okay, I think it'd been like 22 months or something like that. Like it'd been a long time since my last game at PBA, and just like, all right, like I can still do this. Like it's especially on the road trip, I think it's when it set in, like you're on a bus, I'm playing crib with a couple of buddies, some guys are doing homework, we got stepbrothers going on. It's like, okay, this is nothing, I've been here before.
What was it like from a teammate's perspective? Did you, when you hit that ball, for example, was the elation quite obvious?
Yeah, I think my teammates were pretty happy for me. I mean, we were in a 1-run ball game too, and it was a big hit at the time as well. And I think more so that's where I was focused, and I'm pretty sure for the most part they were focused there too. But yeah, it's always good to be contributing and back in the ball field and doing what you work for.
I always enjoy asking this question. How is it that a kid from Alberta doesn't go the usual hockey and football route and ends up playing baseball?
I mean, I think the first thing was like I wasn't very good at many other sports. Like I sucked at hockey, and I think I played baseball, like t-ball or something first time. Like, hey, like, I'm kind of good at this. Like I'm just gonna kind of like stick with this one. And then like for me too, like I thought baseball was super cool because like big teams, there's a lot that goes on. And then like as I started getting older, like I really loved like the strategy and like the statistics of it, and just being able to play on some of the great teams I did. Like when I was in my second year PB, so I was 13. We were provincial champions, and like and then we came second in my second year Bantam, and I got to play with so many like great players too. I was really lucky that some of my friends were as talented as they were. Like, I mean, obviously Jackson Warwick is one of my best friends. He just finished up at St. Louis University, a little brief stint in Australia playing professionally. Eric Sabrowski's with the Padres. I played with Kobe Highland for a couple of years, right? He's at University of Houston. I'm trying to think because I'm definitely like missing people, but like obviously I've been lucky.
Well, and not only that, but you've been able to travel across the province as well. You mentioned PBA earlier on. I mean, there's been some pretty cool moments. Can you single out a few that really stick out in your mind over your young career?
Yeah, I think PBA is definitely like probably the one. I mean, I think too, like that was just like we were. I played with a lot of great baseball players there. Like that program had like, I think too, there's somewhat of a stigma against the CCBC but like, man, like some of the guys I played with there, like they had great careers. I mean, my first year, like we even had like Corey Scammell, and he played. I think he played it was two years for the Mariners. And just to be able to be like an 18-year-old freshman, be able to like pick the brain a little bit and like see how that guy goes about his business. It's pretty special. 30 minutes of hell. Our workouts at PBA, I'll never forget those. Those were. You don't need any kind of description. They're exactly what they sound like.
No kidding. It really is. It's funny how that all kind of plays out. Is that it's not necessarily the games that stick out. It's more the time spent with teammates. Whether it's the good times on the buses or the bad times, like what you just mentioned.
Yeah, no kidding. The buses too. I played so much poker at PBA. Gosh, we were playing a lot of poker. I still remember one time, like I was playing like Coach Hub, and I think it was my sophomore year, I believe it was, and like I knew I had him beat, but like he was dealing, he flipped the card. I remember him getting really mad at me, and being like just scared. But like, oh well, I got some meal money for the trip now, so whatever you take some, you lose some.
I was kind of curious about your post-secondary track as well. How is it that you got into data analytics?
So so when I was at Lethbridge, like I started in the math department. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to be. I did sometimes statistics and some just math, and then I actually I didn't really know where I wanted to go with it, so I went to kinesiology, and that's when I really fell in love with like weightlifting and coaching, and I did that for a while, and it was awesome. And then I kind of got to the point where I felt like, man, like this. Well, first I transferred to Husson, and they were an exercise science program, not a kinesiology program, so they only took 18 of my credits at first, and then I blew my arm out, so it didn't really matter. But then when I came back, I was like, well, I'm not going back unless I can get a degree. And I started realizing that, gosh, like I took a math class called Stat 3700, and I was starting to code in R. And I started, when I was home with my arm hurt, I started seeing all this stuff about like internships with teams and, what they're looking for people to work in. And R and statistical coding was the big thing. And then so I went back to Hudson. I saw that they had a major in it. And so I was like, hey, like that sounds exactly what I want. And my credits transferred well, and like I'll graduate next spring. And then this past summer as well, I got invited to speak at the 2019 SABR seminar. So that's like statistics, science, and scouting of baseball. So I mean, there was some awesome, like I got to hear like the head speaker of like the MLB commission report on the juice ball. There was like astrophysicists there talking about ball physics. There is the assistant hitting coach for the Red Sox. There is the director of player analysis for the Angels. There's so many great speakers, and it just kind of made me feel like, wow, like this is the coolest thing ever, and I just want to like see how like good I can be at this.
And it kind of led you down an interesting path as well, because you ended up creating a Grit Performance. Tell us a little bit about what that one's all about.
Yeah, so for me, Grit's really like if you want to work in baseball, professionally as an analyst, something they want to see is a lot more stuff than like grades or classes or whatever. Like they want to see like actual like tangible work. So for me, what Grit is it's like an area I can share like my research and some of my data projects with everybody, and I'm like a method that's like really communicatable. And then like so it's a way for me to kind of get my stuff out there and have like almost, it's kind of like a portfolio in a lot of senses for me.
Very cool. Now, you've got Grit, you've got your studies, you've got baseball down the line as well, but I am curious, we all know that we're kind of into this time of uncertainty, but what kind of lies ahead in your foreseeable future here, Chris?
we'll see. I mean, biggest thing right now is just finalizing the end part of my Tommy John rehab, is getting my arm ready for my what would be my senior year. In the short term, and I don't know what's going to happen this summer. As far as I was thinking about coaching, I don't know if Baseball Alberta is going to run, but whatever, time will tell there. I guess in a little bit more of the long run is I'll go back to Husson, and I have 9 classes left, and I'm looking forward to finish off my degree, and then let's just go enjoy baseball for one last year before I get into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And then career wise, I mean, I came really close to getting a job with Glass Motion this summer in the Cape Cod League. But obviously, right now, that's not really running. And I had callbacks from 2 other baseball organizations, but I never got that official position. So next fall, I'll reapply, and I'm going to look into some grad school programs this summer too. And, I'm going to kind of take it one step at a time and just try to do the best in my classes and try to do the best in baseball. And hopefully the right path will just kind of make itself obvious.
If you had a piece of advice for any young ball players who might be listening, or those who, I know you're into the coaching side of it, what would you say to them?
I'd say try to get a little bit better today. Especially for some of the young guys, I'd say try not to compare yourself as to where your peers are at as far as being tough on yourself. A lot of especially for me, I think that caused a lot of, I took away from a lot of the enjoyment I could have got from the game by worrying about why some of my peers were just better than me, at a young age, I think. And I think I would have been better off without. I think play a whole bunch of sports. That's definitely something I think can really help you as a ball player down the road, and try to enjoy it, and embrace your role, whatever it is. If you're a first baseman pinch hitter, it's going to maybe see 50% of starts at best, but be in some big at bats for teams, do your job, and or obviously it's pretty easy if you're starting shortstop 3-hole, but be a great teammate.
We've covered a lot of ground here, Chris. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast, and all the best in whatever the future has in store.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your work.
Next up, we met Lethbridge's Landen Bourassa back on episode 75 of the podcast. Like Ewanik, he had also just returned to the field after undergoing Tommy John when the season was put on the back burner. The University of San Francisco hurler has had an interesting vantage point on the pandemic, being in California, where the governor ordered its 40 million residents to stay home. Instead of heading back to Alberta like others, Bourassa is staying put for the time being. Landen, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks again for having me.
Walk us through the last couple of weeks from your perspective, because there's been so much said and so much done. I mean, it's had to have been a really interesting time for you, especially being in California.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being here in California, kind of one of the epicenters of everything that's going on. It's just been kind of a whirlwind, right? It all happened so fast, but right now time seems to have slowed down. Everything's moving really slow. I mean, when we initially got the word of what was going to go down with our season, we were driving down to play Pepperdine for our opening weekend of the conference play, and we're about halfway down, and we stopped for lunch, and we'd kind of been there for a long time. We knew there were some meetings going on, and following on social media, Twitter and everything, seeing different leagues kind of start to delay some things, a little bit concerning. And then the big one for me is when I saw the March Madness and they canceled the entire tournament. I said, all right, that's it for us. We're not having a season this year. So sure enough, shortly after that, we got the word that we were done, and headed right back up on the bus. We all met as a team on campus right after, and just had such an emotional conversation, obviously, with our coach, Coach G. And I mean, it was just hard because there's so much uncertainty. And so that's obviously a trend that's continued for the last 2 weeks since that decision was made. Just the uncertainty of what's going to happen with the season, with everyone's eligibility, with the upcoming year, with summer ball even. So honestly, everybody's just kind of sitting here in limbo. And that's how the last 2 weeks have gone, is just kind of trying to stay ready, trying to stay active, keep working out, throwing and everything. But obviously a little hard to when now we have the lockdown orders here in California, where we're not supposed to really be leaving the house for anything other than medical or groceries. So it's been interesting.
What was it like being in that clubhouse as you're having that conversation and realizing, yeah, this season's done?
I mean, there's so much that goes into that. I mean, myself as a senior, obviously a lot of guys, look towards me and were feeling for me being one of those guys that, hey, this is your last college baseball season. And at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen. But I think the hardest part was some of my other teammates who this is it for them. I got a roommate who has a job lined up to work for Amazon Japan next year, and regardless of if he gets his eligibility back for next year, he's not coming back. Like, that was it for him. And it's tough to see that, especially, you know, guys who played their last game without knowing it. That's kind of heartbreaking in a sense. And it was a tough conversation to have. And our coach was, supportive as always, and just said, "Hey, look, I love you guys." That was the number one message there, and that we get through it. There's really no other thing that you can say when you've had an entire season canceled, but he did a pretty nice job of summing it up for us.
What was it like from your perspective, given all that you've gone through over the last year and a half?
Difficult. It's still difficult for everybody. I think it's been a little bit easier for me to come to grips with, in terms of I'm okay with having to sit out a season. That's happened to me before. Mm-hmm. That's nothing new in a sense, but what makes it so challenging is the uncertainty. It's that we don't know what's going to happen, you know, and we have to just play this waiting game and sit here for the next couple of weeks and then figure out how to progress forward after that. So, it's been challenging still nonetheless, but I'm just trying to stay ready. And for whenever that next start is going to be, I'll be ready for it.
Speaking of the starts that you did get, you finally got back onto the mound. What was that moment like? Because you and I talked about it to just heading into the season, and now you've had a couple of starts under your belt, and you seem to be pitching well. What was it like from your perspective?
It was just fun. It was nice to, hop on the bus for a road trip and know that I was actually going to play again, instead of just going to be the bullpen coach or something like that. But I absolutely felt like I turned a corner in that third start when we were down to Fullerton. I was able to go 4 innings and really stretched out for the first time. And then obviously doing the same thing the next week at California. Just being able to do that, it was a lot of fun. And I kind of felt just locked in and kind of got vaulted into the Friday night role just because of the way things had gone and the opportunities that our coaches thought I could bring to our team. And, I felt like we were on a roll like that, and just tough to have it taken away for now, but that's all right.
When you look back, was there a moment over the last few starts there where you were able to kind of soak it in, take that moment to breathe it all in and go, yeah, I'm back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it was a big push for our team when I got put into that role. After really only throwing 4 innings all year, they said, "Hey, look, we're going to go down to Fullerton. You're going to throw on Friday night." And I went out there and threw up some 4 scoreless innings. And just that moment, with just the way that everyone on my team rallied around me and just reacted to it, that was a pretty unbelievable feeling. Like, everyone had that complete confidence in me. It was like, all right, you're going to get it done for us. And so just from there, even, we won that series. That was the first series we won on the road at a national powerhouse like Fullerton is pretty incredible stuff. And then obviously the next week, taking the series from a Pac-12 team, we started to get on a roll after we hadn't started that well. But even like we said, now it's kind of hard to believe. It's like, all right, we started not too hot, and then we came on strong for a couple series, and then that was it. So it's been difficult like that.
So now, how do you kind of keep on top of things and get ready for, as you said, your next start?
It's trying to do everything as normal as I can. It's trying to, obviously, our strength coach has been really good with coordinating lifts with us, and obviously you got to try to find a home gym or make something happen. And then in addition to that, it's just throwing still. And so, really trying to stay and do everything the way I had before, just maybe not in a team setting. So it's more so just on my own, a little bit more resourceful in a sense, right? Like where I was talking earlier about, finding a batting cage or something like that, just to throw into a net if you can't long toss, or just having somebody to catch a bullpen for you. So it's hard not to be in a team setting to get that working, but individually I'm old enough and I've played long enough that I've kind of, had to figure it out for some different holidays and everything. So it's, it's still an adventure to try to figure it out, but you just do what you can. That's really the main part to that.
How much are you leaning on that experience of last year where you were kind of almost on your own trying to rehab from that injury?
Oh, that's huge. That's huge for me. It's, that's number one, honestly, in terms of how I'm going to get through something like this year is just the experience and trust that I've been through something equally as hard in my mind. So I'm just going through it, and you got to take it day by day. And that was the main message I sent to myself when I got hurt. And it's going to be the same message that I'm giving to myself and my teammates now. And we're just trying to find a way to still continue to get better at baseball and get ready for that next season.
So we've talked to a lot of different players who said, the first thing I thought of was heading back home, going to Alberta and figuring it out from there, whereas you're taking a different approach. Why did you go that route?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I think part of it was at the time knowing that it was minus 30 and snow back home, whereas I'm in sunny California where it's 20 to 25 degrees. Just makes it a lot easier for me to get the work in out here, honestly. And then obviously I've got some really good friends that we're in such great places like Riley Helen. I got to give a shout out to him. He's a former teammate of mine who just said, hey, come down and stay with me down here near LA. And so I've been down here with him, and he's been catching bullpens for me and doing all that kind of stuff to help try to keep me ready. So I mean, a little bit of a difficult decision. Obviously my parents haven't been home in I think close to a year and a half now, but they understand it, and they know that obviously they both have to continue to work at their jobs, and I've got to work at baseball and everything, and it'll be nice to have a little bit of time like that. But we both kind of understand that. I mean, I'm still in school, right? I'm still taking all the online, all my master's program courses have been moved online, so it's just I can really do that from anywhere, but just nice enough to have friends to open up their homes to me down here in LA.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I was curious about the education side of things as well, because I know you had some pretty big aspirations on that side as well to continue the baseball career and also the education part. What's the game plan on that side?
I mean, the funny thing about that is the game plan is to just sit and wait. I mean, and that's one of the messages too that I've talked to Nino Giratano, our head coach, about is he just said, hey, look, make sure, I know you understand this, but make sure nobody else wants to go and make a decision right now on what they're going to do, because there's no way we can know, especially for myself in terms of baseball and academics. I just have to just wait here. The NCAA has said that everyone's going to get their eligibility back. Well, we don't know what that's going to look like yet. And so without all those pieces, or even if the MLB is even going to have a draft this year, we don't have those pieces yet, so we can't make a decision on it. So honestly, my plan for the next 2 months is to just keep working out and stay ready. And if I end up playing this summer, I'm playing this summer, and either I'm playing professionally, which would be awesome, or I come back and I finish my master's degree and do another year of school. I mean, I'm in a good situation, but it's just I got to be patient with it.
Now, we're not in a lockdown here in Alberta, so maybe paint us a little bit of a picture as to what you see in California as things have developed in that state.
It's been interesting. I think right initially, because San Francisco, when I was up there, the lockdown order was a little bit earlier. It was kind of eerie in a sense, because you see people out, but not a ton of people out, right? Mm-hmm. There's people out walking their dogs or going for a walk, but you don't see people out doing the usual business that you'd see. Obviously, all the retail stores really closing up, other than grocery stores, post offices, that type of deal. So I don't know. It's kind of eerie because you don't see as many people, but you still see some people out. And even when people out, they're pretty obvious about avoiding everyone else. So it's kind of surreal in that sense that it's kind of a paranoid, eerie feel to it, but at the same time, all understandable. And I think everybody gets it that we're all in the same boat. And then coming down here to LA and being outside of the city a little bit more, we're kind of in Camarillo, which is slightly north of LA. People are still out doing things, but just not to the normal extent, right? Like everyone's taking the precautions and everything's, I mean, I've never been to LA and never seen traffic like this. It's just, there's nothing, you can't, you're not getting backed up anywhere, which is kind of nice. But I mean, nobody's really leaving the house. I think everybody's doing a decent job of following the order down here. I mean, obviously more could be done in terms of, each individual person, but I mean, it's, people are doing what they can with the current measures.
Final question for you, Landen. What's your mindset as you go about these uncertain times?
Just staying positive. I think that's the only way to do it. Just staying positive and focusing on a day at a time. For me, I got class later tonight. So I'm going to be. So basically, it's just preparing for class, right? As soon as I finish my training for the day, it's just all right. Get ready for class, and I'll tackle today, and then I'll look to tomorrow when I get up the next day. And that's really all I can do right now.
Appreciate your time again so soon after the first appearance on the podcast, Landen. Thanks so much for it, and best of luck as we go forward.
Yeah, of course. Thanks again for having me, Joe.
Thanks again to both Chris Ewanik and Landen Bourassa for joining us this week. Funny side story before we go. As Chris kind of alluded to, he and Landen had gotten to know each other a little bit. Landen told me after our conversation that he had interviewed Chris for a school project, once again proving the baseball world can be a small one. We'd also like to take a moment right now to thank all of our sponsors for helping us tell the stories of baseball in this province: the Okotoks Dogs, Dogs Academy, the Western Canadian Baseball League, and Foxhall Academy of Baseball. And thanks again to all of you for downloading and listening. We'll be back again later this week with another episode of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast.